All right, well, we're here in our Hodges Gallery, and in this season of exhibitions, our summer 2025 season of exhibitions, we have exhibiting artist Buqaqawuli Nobakada, and this exhibition is entitled Her Ladyship, Countess of Cumakala. So we're very excited to have you here. For a little bit of context, this is your first exhibition in the United States, your first solo show, and we're very excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. I think this is such a beautiful opportunity to learn about other perspectives and to share my worldview. And I've been feeling really at home here, and the reception has been so lovely. So thank you for having me.
Good, I'm glad. So just to start, I'd like to ask you about your art practice and what inspires you, what has been a great inspiration for you and formative to your art making.
Wow, I think that's such a layered question. I have been heavily inspired by womanhood and particularly Black hyperfemininity. I think when I look at the word craft or when I think about art, and it's like calculated aesthetics, and I think that's what Black womanhood is, especially contemporary Black womanhood. There's a regality that I don't see celebrated in the art canon on the pedestal that I believe it to be. So I thought that maybe that's what my contribution to the contemporary art canon should be, is to take this aesthetic that loud, colorful, bright Black women have, this swag that we have, and document it honestly as an art form, so that when you look back and you want to know in history, like let's say 100 years from now, and anyone wants to know and understand what contemporary Black womanhood looked like, it is celebrated in this very esteemed way that I see it to be. The same way that if you want to understand maybe the energy of the 80s and the 90s, you can look at Andy Warhol's art, and it almost like captures the essence of his time. That's what I want to do as well. I want to capture the essence of our time and of Black womanhood, but in an adorative kind of way.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell me a little bit more about your background and what led you to become an artist?
Okay, so my background is quite long. I was born in Cape Town in South Africa, and then I was raised in another province in South Africa called the Eastern Cape, in a small village called Cumakala. That's kind of where the title of this exhibition comes from. And it's where my grandmother lived, and it's where most of my family still goes back on Christmases, or whenever there's any sort of like ceremony or celebration. Everybody goes back there from all the cities, and they go back to this small village in Ladyship called Cumakala. And my mom is a maths teacher, so we kind of left the Eastern Cape and moved to a big city because of her teaching. And then, I was a very academic student because my mother is a maths teacher. And then I got an academic scholarship to go to private school when I was in high school. And I felt really out of place in that school at first because I wasn't from there. I was under a lot of academic pressure because I was on a scholarship. So I would like disappear to the art department because we're separated from the rest of the school. And I had a lovely art teacher when I was there, and he was friends with a lot of artists and was a collector as well. So we would go as the art class to different artist studios, and I got to talk to a lot of artists when I was quite young. And I had never thought of art as something that you could do and something that could take care of you full time. It had always, in my world, been dismissed as a hobby. I was always supposed to be like a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer. That's the kind of expectation, and that's what I was being trained for by my family. So when I started to engage with these artists and they were talking about, oh, they have a show in Rome coming up, or oh, Afropunk is coming to interview them at their studios, and their work is traveling to places that even they hadn't been to, like they'd be shipping off paintings to Japan or to just a lot of travel. And I just got exposed and I think obsessed with this idea of being cared for by art. And so I first pursued architecture. And I think I can see the influence of architecture in my work as well. I pursued architecture first because I thought that it was this good balance between creativity and art and the engineering and mathematics world. So it felt like, okay, I'm gonna kill two birds with one stone. But then when I was studying architecture, I quickly realized that it didn't grant me the freedom of expressing myself or communicating what I wanted to communicate. So I switched, but I still decided to do it academically. So I studied fine arts at the University of the Witwatersrand in Johannesburg up until my honors. So now we're here.
That's great, and I think you can really see your architecture background in works like Nettleton Road, Clifton, where there these fabrications of space. Can you talk about why that's so important to you? Why do you continue to depict these almost surreal, dreamlike spaces?
So I think that space is really important to me because I'm manifesting my future, and I think maybe this has a lot to do with architecture, but when I think of my future, I always think of the spaces that I will inhabit. Like, what kind of house will I live in? What is the lounge going to look like? What is this and that going to look like? And I think coming from a place as rural and small as where myself and most of my family comes from, you can really start to think that your world is actually small, or it gets difficult to dream when you come from environments like that. I know like a lot of people who come from environments like that, like when they imagine like what house they're gonna have, they don't think of big swimming pools and conversation pits because that's not in their immediate environment. And when you go through a magazine or on television, at least when I was younger, the families that I saw there in the huge villas and houses, they didn't look like mine. So it just always felt like this far away thing. So I'm trying to use art to bridge that gap, and I paint my cousins, I paint my friends, I paint a lot of young women who come from where I come from, because I'm trying to create this sense of belonging, because you need to see yourself somewhere in order to work towards getting there. So I'm creating like a safe space for them to dream of abundance. I'm making abundance more real and available to them. And especially for young Black women, I think luxury is demonized a little bit. It's especially when you're young and you're Black and you're female. It's always like, okay, what did you do to get there? Or it seems like you need to do bad things or some unsavory, immoral behavior in order to access a certain life. And it creates this cycle where young girls think they have to do certain things or in order to access a particular lifestyle, and I don't think it should be that way. I think we need to change the belief system around it. And it's a very long historical political thing why young Black women have been separated from abundance. So that's why I don't paint men as well. It's like you don't need to be married, you don't need to work yourself to the bone in order to experience abundance. It can be a home for us, it can be a comfortable thing for us, and I'm trying to make it beautiful.
That's so amazing and great to hear, and it's been a joy to be able to curate this exhibition, and I think it creates a certain kind of comfort and visibility that I love. But I'd also like to talk about your use of lace and how this relates to the feminine, the hyper feminine.
I love working with lace. I think it's such a versatile material, but it's also a distinctly feminine material. And I think in studying its origins, I found that it originates from women who were creating it in their domestic pastime or as part of religious order. And these women go unnamed. And I think the dominant art canon does this. It's very patriarchal. It's very much, it praises and celebrates men. So when you think of any artistic grandmasters, your Picassos or your Rothkos or Andy Warhols, those are all men. And it's not like women were not creating in those times. They were, but the way that the art canon is fashioned is to celebrate men. And I think that lace being something that originates from women, although now it has moved on to being machine made, I just feel like I'm collaborating with these unnamed women that I don't know. It's also a beautiful metaphor for how I see Black women. I think when I was much younger and I would go to exhibitions and I would see how particularly African women are shown in art, or just in the media in general. It's like Sarah Baartman kind of stuff. There's a lot of over-sexualization of women. There's also a lot of struggle. Just you see African women just with buckets of water on their heads and babies on their back. And I think we're teaching the world how to see us when you create imagery like that. So lace is very delicate and it's very beautiful, and I think that's a serious metaphor for how I see us and how I want to teach the world how to see us. So I'm affirming how I already see things, but I'm also teaching the world how to see us. And even when I'm working with it, it's so soft and so delicate. Like I really have to be gentle with my paintings, and it's that same gentleness that I want African femininity to be afforded.
That's great. And I think lastly, I'd like to talk about the use of the color blue. When we were preparing for this exhibition, we talked a lot about our choice on wall color and what shade of blue. And it was quite meticulous, and I think it was a good conversation to have.
Yeah, it really was. So I didn't know for a long time why I kept returning to the color blue. I didn't even realize I was doing it at first, until more and more exhibitions happened and I kept seeing my works when they're next to each other. And I saw that, wow, this is something that I keep returning to all the time, and it was very subconscious. And people would ask me about it, and I really did not know until I think sometime last year. There was something called Mcimbi, which is a traditional celebration. My friends were graduating and they're Xhosa, so they're part of the same tribe as me. And it's like a traditional celebration where family, friends all come together. They wear their traditional attire. It's a lot of cooking, a lot of celebrating, a lot of singing. And when I saw all the women dressed in their traditional Xhosa attire, I noticed that the traditional beadwork, particularly for my tribe, has a lot of blue, and it's a very specific powder blue shade. So the main colors for my tribe particularly is white, black, and blue. And it is that shade of blue that I keep like going back to. And I think I realized then that, oh, wow. And it's interesting because jewelry, in my culture at least, is predominantly made by the woman. But again, I can't name the woman that designed it. I can't even name the women that make it. So I think women go unnamed. Their craft is often overlooked. And I think that just me revisiting this color blue is honoring that, and maybe just honoring my culture as well.
Well, that's beautiful, and I appreciate you sitting with me. I think this is really marking a historical moment, and we're so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.